Hey, what's going on everybody? It's me, the Kruel, and today we are fucking finally covering the AMA with James. That was about 2 weeks ago. I know it's probably old news at this point because everybody's had time to read it, but I really want to kind of break down some of these things for people who don't really pay attention and want to kind of get an idea of what's going on. Plus, I already said I'd cover the AMA literally the day after, but I got so sidetracked with midterms and other shit. Now I'm actually fucking studying for finals. Oh god, everything moves so goddamn fast at this point. Like, life is just, oh, it was so much easier when I was still in high school. And if many of you guys remember and have stayed loyal, you know I started this channel back in high school, so isn't that something else? But that's not what you're here for right now. I do have some things at the end of the video I want to talk about, but that's just going to be at the end of the video if you want to stay for that. This video is going to be covering last year, though. That's what you're here for, so pull up a fucking chair, grab some popcorn, and let's get to reading and have a little bit of a discussion about each individual idea. Alright, so right off the bat, there were a lot of random questions, a lot of questions that referred to Chapter 2, and even further chapters after that, and some on maps, stuff like that. So, the first thing I'm going to go over are some of the things we could have seen, and what they actually had lined up and planned. So, first things first, ranged weapons. How the fuck would they have worked? I kind of want to know this personally, but James here says that the potato gun would have shot explosive potato-like rounds, and it would have been kind of like a grenade launcher in a way. The acid gun would have shot blobs of acid at a quick rate of fire, like spider venom, essentially. And the crossbow would have shot sort of bolts like a regular crossbow. It would have been like a sniper-type weapon. They still didn't cover how you were going to craft these, which kind of sucks. I feel like I should have probably asked that, but nonetheless, I'm kind of indifferent on the subject. I think, quite honestly, last year is not a first-person shooter game. It never should have been. It never should have had ranged weapons to begin with. I think the shotgun was a stupid idea. I mean, come on, how the fuck are you able to craft a shotgun? But nonetheless, last year's an asymmetric horror game. I don't know if it needs ranged weapons, but I guess it would have been kind of cool to see a new gimmick in the game. As far as that goes, acid would have been really cool, because that, I think, is like the one downside of the slasher acid. But nonetheless, we never got to see anything for acid anyway. So that being said, let's move on to the next one. So some of you guys out there on the internet wanted to skip straight past Chapter 2 and go straight to Chapter 3. And guess what? James gave it to us. He said Chapter 3 was going to be the suburbs map, which, if you guys remember, was initially one of the lineup maps with the original game last year, The Nightmare. We were going to get an alien killer of some sort, or alien cryptids, and it was going to be something along the lines of Mars Attacks. If you guys haven't seen Mars Attacks, get the fuck out of here and go watch it. It's actually a pretty good movie for being a cheesy movie with aliens that kill people. But that's not the point. I think, honestly, the idea of an alien killer, I'm going to assume it probably would have been ranged, which means at this point we would have had 3 ranged killers. I'm considering the spider a ranged killer. I don't want to hear any shit, okay? But, I don't know, it seems like last year was turning more and more into a first-person shooter asymmetric horror game, which it could have been its own cool idea, I guess, but I don't see that working. And I'll cover other game modes and stuff like that later on. But that being said, I think the alien, it could have been cool. The suburbs would have been absolutely fucking dope, because all maps are appreciated last year regardless. And yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and kill 3 birds with 1 stone here, and it's because they all kind of relate to Chapter 2 or the August update in some way, but essentially James says, no, cryptids were in Afterdark to complement the infestation idea, but additional chapters were not going to rely on them. Some would, some wouldn't. The cryptids for Chapter 2 would have been rats. There would have been a new survivor for Chapter 2. It was going to be an emo Asian girl, but they didn't come up with a name, and the summer camp was not finished in time for the August update, which would have been in Chapter 1. So, god damn it. But at least they got the mine out. That was kind of cool, I guess. I don't know who the new survivor would have been. I don't know if they were actually going to do this, but they actually said that they were going to have an idea for making the actual classmates have their own, you know, specific abilities, so they weren't just like, you know, cosmetic skins, basically. And I think the idea of fat rats for the for Chapter 2, I don't think cryptids really would have worked, especially since the father can already summon skeletons. Like I said in the last video, I think that would have been really fucking buggy, and I don't think, quite honestly, any of that would have worked out. I think it would have been super fucking cool, but nonetheless, I really like my CPU, and I don't want to have to go buy a new one because this game absolutely fucking toasted my old one. Now, someone did ask a really good question here. And I was even wondering it myself, and when I saw it, I thought, wow, that is actually kind of a good idea, but was there actually going to be any other game modes for last year, or was it going to be the same formula over and over? And yes, there were going to be other game modes, as it turns out. Apparently, there was going to be one where it was like a King of the Hill, but for the killer. Essentially, what would happen is someone starts as the killer, they would kill a ton of people, and as soon as the killer died, whoever killed him would become the killer. And I guess it would be sort of a back and forth sort of thing. And at that point, it would just, you know, the round would probably end with whoever had more kills, or if you got a certain score or some shit like that. I'm not exactly sure. That could have been actually pretty fucking cool, I think. Another comment that I thought was actually kind of neat was, why the spider? Why did they choose to put a spider in the game? Well, essentially, at PAX, when they were actually showing off the game, somebody there had a pet tarantula. And that's where the idea was started. They were like, holy shit, this could be a fucking killer last year. We could put a fucking spider in the game. That'd be sick. And that was essentially 100% of where the idea came from. Now, overall, my opinions of the spider so far, because we've had just about enough time to play the spider at this point. I thought the spider was cool at first. As soon as they put the utility abilities in the game, I think it kind of ruined everything. And that may be different for everybody else. I also still think the Fiend Shield is a stupid idea. But nonetheless, I think the spider was cool at first with, you know, the venom and, you know, just regular slashing and stuff like that. What I would have liked to see for the spider is possibly, you know, some sort of ability to crawl on the walls or to tunnel or something like that. You know, more spider-esque ideas. But I still think, yeah, it was a good idea. It was a good idea. And as far as other killers would have gone, yes, they were actually planning on them. So with the addition of the mall map, which they were planning on doing because it was a part of the original lineup, they were going to release a robot killer. And I think that would have been absolutely fucking dope. Now, with the way that Elastic Games develops their killers, obviously, you know, all of these killers would have looked sick. I mean, the idea of, and you know, and we covered this earlier, the idea of an alien killer, they probably would have made him look pretty cool. A robot, there's so much you can do for that. But as far as these go, it reminds me so much of like Cabin in the Woods, where at the very end, all of the monsters get released, and it's just a conundrum of like horror movie villains, like werewolves and ghosts, and there's like this one machine that was a robot, and it was like slicing people up. It was pretty nasty. But that's kind of like the idea, I thought, and I think that would have been pretty cool. Now, this is the part of the video where the heavier and deeper questions come into play. And these are the questions that relate to, does last year have a future? Is it actually over? Was there anything that could have been done? Did we get a publisher? Essentially, all of the big questions that actually dictate if this game is going to go anywhere. Here is the really big question. Is last year dead? Is it done? And James has to say, so in all honesty, that was pretty much the nail in the coffin for last year. The story may not be over for Chad, Amber, and the gang, but the story for last year is closed for now. I'm sorry guys, we did countless meetings, but the support and the money just was not there. And I think that pretty much says it for itself. But hold it right there before you say, okay, that's the end of the video, we're done. Alright, bye Kruel. That's not it, okay? Hold on. Backlid and James have had countless discussions about turning the game free to play. This would be overall really fucking good for player retention and actually getting people to play the game and explore the title, because then they don't have to worry about spending a fucking dime. At this point, we would actually have people playing, and if they actually cared enough about the game, they would pay for the skins. You see where I'm going with this? So essentially, here are a few more posts that he says, and it's regarding to see if last year has a future. Yes, essentially last year will have a future if they do get enough people to play, if they do get enough money from skins and transactions, and if they make enough money down the line, we could actually see, you know, an actual finished summer camp map, maybe even chapter 2. And at that point, we could see a full team coming back, and then development on last year starting again. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, you know, if you want to see the game do well, you're going to have to put a little bit of money in. Plus, James and a lot of EG have actually gone on to start doing this other thing I'll talk about a little bit later on in the video, where they're going to make a little bit of money from that, and if people still care about last year at the end of it, they might come back with their money and reinvest into the game. We'll see. Now I'm going to bust through a couple of these questions here. Was Chapter 2 almost complete before development was halted? And it was midway, actually. Are they considering doing one last update? Yes, they are, but they need the resources to do it, and is the game going free to play? They're considering it. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Does last year have a chance of coming back? Probably not. Like, let's be honest here, probably not. And even I'm saying this, and I've had the most amount of faith in last year since the dawn of time. There's only one way that this works. And yeah, go ahead and bring out your Doctor Strange finger right now. Yeah, that's right, the one where he's like, oh, there's only one instance of time where we actually succeed here. And it's if we go free to play, and it works out somehow. If this game goes free to play, a ton of people begin playing it, and they pay for skins because, hey, you know, it's a cool game, whatever. And they don't kind of know that the developers aren't working on it right now, then I think, quite honestly, it has a chance. Other than that, if it goes free to play and nobody plays it, it's over. It's done. Last year's gone, okay? The nightmare's over. So those are my opinions. I have one more thing to show you guys before the end of the video, and it's essentially where EG is going now. And this is James's last message to the community. Okay, guys. I have to go feed Backlid and at least keep him alive. I want to thank all of you guys for being such diehard fans throughout this whole process and coming here to chat with me. It really means a lot to know that you guys care so much about the game, and especially big thank you to the fans and backers from the OG Kickstarter days. This game would not have been possible without your help. To close out this fireside chat, I want to touch on the status of last year one last time so that everyone knows. I tried really hard last summer and fall to find a publisher. Unfortunately, the Steam numbers just weren't big enough to get a publisher or investor interested, and the resources were just not there. But you can be assured that if we did have the resources, we would produce new content to keep the game alive, but we just don't have them. Since winter, a few of the EG crew and myself have moved on, and we are creating a new type of experience that is completely unrelated to EG, along with a tech industry partner. Hopefully you guys will get to see that in the near future. Until then, James. Now, a little bit earlier in the video, I did say that James was going off to do something else with the EG crew. This was it. He did say, and quote me here, he did say if people were still interested in the game and he had the money and funding from this new thing that he was doing with the EG crew, that he would come back and revisit the title if we still showed that we cared. If we still showed that last year was something that we were interested in and we still wanted to see it come any closer to Chapter 2. So, if this, whatever he's working on, works out, and we're still here, and we're still enjoying the game, still creating content, stuff like that, then there's a good chance that we might actually see Chapter 2. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. And for the rest of you guys who care, I do have some big news. Me and a couple of friends that I'm trying to get together on this are developing a video game. As of right now, I can't share with you guys any details as to what that is, but we're using Unity right now, and this video game should be done, if everything goes according to plan, in the next 2 years. We'll see. That's including all sounds, all models, all programming with C#, C++ that needs to be done. And as far as that goes, I'll let you guys know once we've started on the whole thing, how it's going. But that being said, don't you fucking forget to keep it cruel. Don't shop at Walmart. And my next video will be out next week. I already got it planned out.